Welcome back my channel X Coins Hub. In 1992, the United States Mint was operating with a familiar efficiency, striking millions of coins daily to keep pace with the nation's commerce. Among the most commonly produced was the Jefferson nickel, bearing the stoic image of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his beloved Monticello on the reverse. Since 1938, the 5-cent piece had largely remained unchanged, with only minor tweaks to the design and composition over the decades. In Philadelphia, over 350 million Jefferson nickels were minted that year, coins destined to vanish into circulation without ceremony. Yet from within that massive sea of metal, a few pieces carried a secret. And someone, years later, would be the first to see it. He wasn't looking for anything specific. Just another collector, scanning through coins at a local flea market, digging through dusty jars and plastic bins where nickels jangled and clinked with careless abandon. He'd always been fascinated with the Jefferson series, drawn to its quiet consistency, the dignity in its simplicity. But as he turned over one 1992p nickel under the weak light of a vendor's canopy, something gave him pause. The coin looked unusually sharp. Not just clean, but different. Jefferson's profile was crisp, almost too crisp. The fields unusually smooth. He flipped it again. The reverse was clear, the steps of Monticello distinct. But something tugged at his instincts. He'd handled thousands of these coins. This one didn't look right. He took it home, pulled out a loupe and studied the rim. That's when it hit him. The edges. They weren't just sharp, they were full. Nearly squared, lacking the familiar soft roll found on modern nickels. And more than that, the details on Jefferson's bust and the building on the reverse were struck in a style he had only seen in proof coins. Yet there was no mint mark, no mirror-like surfaces, and the coin lacked the overall sheen of a true proof. What he held was something in between, uncirculated, but with exceptional strike quality. And that struck him as odd. He started digging, comparing it to other 1992 nickels from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. And with each comparison, the mystery deepened. This one wasn't just a high-grade strike. It had the distinct hallmarks of a proof die strike, something that should have never happened at the Philadelphia Mint that year. Word spread slowly at first. A few collectors took notice, then a few more. Theories emerged. Some believed the Philadelphia Mint had accidentally used a proof die intended for the San Francisco Mint, where all official proof coins were struck. Others suspected it might have been an intentional test or worse, an unauthorized strike that slipped into circulation under the radar. Grading services were hesitant at first, but as more examples surfaced, each bearing the same unusually sharp features, they began to acknowledge the phenomenon. A 1992p Jefferson nickel, struck with what appeared to be a proof die. The rarity wasn't just in the die usage, but in the fact that these coins had escaped into circulation unnoticed. Prices were modest at first. $10, then $20. Collectors were intrigued but cautious. It wasn't until a high-grade specimen, still raw with full steps and frosty fields, sold for over $100 that the buzz began in earnest. Articles followed. Mentions in coin forums grew louder. Dealers began seeking them out specifically, offering premium prices just to examine one up close. Then came the twist. One advanced collector, armed with die markers and high-resolution images, discovered something even more startling. On a particular 1992p nickel, the reverse showed evidence of design mismatch. Subtle, but there, a transitional feature not known to be used in 1992. This wasn't just a proof die. It was possibly a reverse die from a prior year, reused or mistakenly paired with a 1992 obverse. That suggested not just a one-off error, but a deeper lapse in die management, and perhaps a run of coins that had been incorrectly assembled at the mint. The combination of a proof-style strike and a mismatched reverse sparked renewed attention. Numismatists began speculating. How many could exist? Why had no record of this die pairing ever surfaced? And was it the result of an experimental strike program that had never been publicly disclosed? The market responded. Prices climbed sharply. Graded examples in mint state condition began reaching several $100s. Specimens with full steps and deep strike definition soared even higher. And yet, the number of confirmed coins remained strikingly low, fewer than a few dozen across years of searching. Collectors now speak of the 1992p Jefferson nickel not with certainty, but with reverence. It sits in a strange space between known error and unexplained anomaly. A coin that, by all logic, shouldn't exist the way it does, but does nonetheless. Its surfaces tell the story of a routine process interrupted, a misstep hidden beneath a veneer of perfection. And for those who hold one, it's more than just a piece of metal. It's a glimpse into the quiet moments where the mint's machinery drifted from precision and into something altogether extraordinary. The year was 1996, a time of economic optimism, the rise of the internet, and a booming interest in coin collecting fueled by the soon-to-launch 50-state quarters program. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of Roosevelt dimes at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, as it had since 1946. Each dime carried the profile of President Theodore Roosevelt on the obverse, with a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. It was an era of automation and tighter minting controls, where errors were becoming rarer than ever before. But even in this age of precision, something slipped through. A misalignment occurred during the die hubbing process at the Denver Mint. A slight shift in pressure or timing caused part of the design to be stamped twice. Not on the coin itself, but on the die that would go on to strike thousands of dimes. Most of the coins produced that day showed no visible signs of error, but a small number bore a subtle but unmistakable mark of duplication. And no one noticed for years, until the day it landed in David's hands. David had been collecting coins since he was a teenager, flipping through rolls of change every weekend like others might flip through lottery tickets. Always hoping, never quite expecting. That afternoon, he was sorting through a mixed bag of dimes he'd bought from a coin shop near Phoenix. Most were worn, typical examples of their kind. But one caught his eye. A 1996 D Roosevelt dime. At first glance, nothing special. No scratches, no off-center strikes, no obvious flaws. But something about the date felt stretched. He grabbed his loupe and examined the details more closely. That's when he saw it. The 6 in the date had a ghostly second impression, slightly shifted upward. The word liberty also showed signs of doubling. His heart pounded. This wasn't just a weak strike or post-production damage. This was a true double die, a minting error embedded in the coin itself. David knew what he was looking at. This was not just rare. It was possibly unique. He sent the coin to a grading service, waiting anxiously for weeks. When the results came back, his breath caught. Authentic double die obverse, population. One known. Only one. That couldn't be right. Determined to uncover the truth, David dove into research. He scoured numismatic forums, contacted experts, and combed through auction records. Slowly, the story unfolded. Back in 1996, the Denver Mint was running high-volume production lines to meet demand. The process involved creating master dies using a hubbing press. If the die shifted even slightly during this stage, it could create a ghost image, a second impression subtly offset from the first. In most cases, errors like this were caught before mass production. But somehow, this one slipped through. Only a small number of coins were struck from the affected die before the problem was corrected. And over the years, they disappeared into the stream of everyday currency. As news spread within the collector community, interest surged. What had once been worth 10 cents now commanded thousands. Initial estimates placed its value around $5,000, then $10,000, then $20,000. One example sold at auction for $32,000, setting a new benchmark. But then came the twist. During a routine audit of old mint records, a researcher uncovered a forgotten maintenance log from July 1996. It detailed an issue with one of the obverse dies used to strike Roosevelt dimes that month. According to the report, a technician had adjusted the die after noticing an irregularity in the early strikes. The correction was quick, and no immediate concern was raised. But the log revealed something else. The affected die had struck approximately 280 coins before being replaced. 280. That number changed everything. If only one had been authenticated, where were the rest? Collectors launched silent hunts, scouring thousands of 1996 D-dimes. Some believed others had surfaced quietly, changing hands privately. Others suspected many had been destroyed or remained hidden in old collections. Then, in 2023, another example emerged. Found in a collection passed down from a retired teacher who had saved every dime she received between 1990 and 2000. The coin matched David's in every way. Graded MS-64, it sold at auction for over $37,000, shattering previous expectations. The market reacted instantly. Prices soared again. Speculators entered the game. Some began buying rolls of 1996 D-dimes, hoping to find another. Others debated whether the mint's original log was accurate. Maybe there were more. But the real surprise came from an unexpected source. A third coin surfaced. Not in a collector's vault, but in a child's backpack. Discovered by a school librarian helping students sort coins for a history project, the dime showed all the telltale signs of the same error. Sent in anonymously, it became the third known example. Graded lower due to wear, it still fetched over $21,000 at auction. Suddenly, the myth of the 1996 double-die dime took on a life of its own. Some called it the modern mirage. Others dubbed it the forgotten flaw. Collectors who once dismissed recent coins as too common now viewed them with fresh eyes. The realization hit hard. Even in the digital age with automated presses and laser-guided precision, mistakes still happened. And sometimes those mistakes became legends. David kept his coin locked away, not out of greed, but reverence. To him, it was more than metal and mintage. It was proof that history wasn't always written in books. Sometimes, it was stamped quietly into silver and nickel, waiting to be discovered by someone who knew how to look somewhere. Another 1996 D. Roosevelt dime sat in a drawer, a purse, or a jar. Maybe even in your pocket right now. You'd never know unless you checked. Every dime tells a story.